Oh, the dreaded blue box. Kids love this stuff, adults not so much. Personally, I prefer a little bit more of like a baked macaroni and cheese with crispy edges, but kids want something creamier and it is very hard to beat the blue box. So today I scoured the internet looking for a stovetop macaroni and cheese version that can hold up to the blue box. We're making macaroni and cheese. This is the Dinnernet. There are millions of macaroni and cheese recipes on the internet, and if you land on a bad one, you'll end up with like a gritty mess and your kids will fall further down the blue box well. But today, I found 3 different versions of macaroni and cheese from 3 very different sources, and we're gonna make them all. So the first one's from a popular website, the second one is from the first page of Google, and the third one is from kind of an off-the-grid website. So we'll try them out and see if we can beat the blue box. For our popular macaroni and cheese recipe today, we are going to foodnetwork.com, maybe you've heard of it. And this is an Alton Brown recipe. Alton is one of my cooking crushes. I've been following him for over a decade and I just love his recipes. He makes super simple, very delicious stuff. And you gotta think that this one's gonna be a success because it's an Alton Brown one. But let's cook it and see if there are any weird things going on. It starts by just cooking your macaroni, and it starts with half a pound of plain old elbow macaroni. Nothing fancy there. I always like to salt my water before I cook pasta in it, so I'm gonna do a big pinch of salt there. Now, a lot of times macaroni and cheeses will use like a roux or a cheese sauce. This one has like a little shortcut, so you don't need to worry about that for this recipe. It uses instead evaporated milk and eggs. It sounds kind of crazy, but I think it might work okay. So we're gonna add 2 eggs. 2 eggs. And then kind of the secret ingredient to this recipe, which is evaporated milk. Make sure you don't get the sweetened condensed milk. That's like more of a dessert thing. But this evaporated milk is cool because it's very thick already. Now, if I had one gripe with Mr. Alton here on this recipe, evaporated milk comes in 2 kinds of sizes. It usually is a 5-ounce can and a 12-ounce can. His recipe calls for 6 ounces. So it's like half of a big can, but a little bit more than a small can. Would have been better to just use a small can. So I'm gonna pour this in. It's about a 3/4 of a cup is what you're going for there about. I know, this looks kind of crazy, right? Eggs and evaporated milk. So this is kind of the base of your sauce. And then we wanna add some flavoring to it. Right now it's a little on the bland side. For flavoring, Alton recommends some dried mustard. I'm gonna do a pinch. He calls for 3/4 of a teaspoon and a few dashes of just plain old hot sauce. This all goes into your base for this recipe. A little salt and a little pepper to this as well. Always good. There we go. All right, so we are ready. Our pasta is not quite ready, but it's getting there. While we wait for that to finish, let's read some reviews. 5-star review from Laura S. says, after reading the other reviews, I left out the mustard and the hot sauce completely when I made this, but it was very good. It was a little heavy and I ended up making too much, but I will make this again for sure. Well, I don't know why you would leave out the delicious stuff in the recipe, but I guess to each their own. Let's move on to a 1-star review. This is from KB Friedman 9. And they say, this one was a mess for me. The sauce thickened up too much and has a really unpleasant mouthfeel. That doesn't sound great. Not exactly grainy, but definitely not smooth and creamy. I also didn't think it had much flavor, had to add extra hot sauce and mustard for it to taste like anything at all. I haven't found anything better than the blue box. KB Freeman, that is my concern. But let's keep going. I think we're done here, so I'm gonna give this pasta a taste. You want it al dente. If you cook it too much, it'll get really mushy, which you don't want. So we're almost there, probably like 30 more seconds, and then the magic will happen. The macaroni, the mac and magic. Mac and magic? As soon as you drain your pasta, immediately add some butter. This is 4 tablespoons of butter. Go in, melt the butter before you add your sauce to this. If you get this too hot, you're gonna have a problem because the eggs are gonna start to curdle. That might be the weird mouthfeel thing. I'm thinking maybe they got it too hot. We are gonna go in with our strange Alton mixture of evaporated milk and eggs and immediately stir this. So we're not gonna let it sit. We're gonna just stir, 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 stir. It is looking pretty creamy already. Some recipes have like a million different kinds of cheese. Alton is a man going for my heart. Sharp cheddar cheese. That's all you need, sharp cheddar cheese. And with all the cheese, as the cheese melts, it combines with the evaporated milk and the eggs, and it hopefully makes something very creamy and delicious. If you overcook this, it will start to get a little bit grainy, so you gotta kind of watch it. This is not like, don't leave it and go watch a show on Netflix and come back. I don't know, KB Freeman 9, this looks pretty good to me. Do we have a bowl, Rachel? What are we gonna put this in? Yeah, Rachel with the bowls, okay. Serve this up here. This is our blue box version, if you're curious for comparison. It's kind of got a little hard, but you know. And then this is our Alton version. Creamy. Ooh, got some steam coming off. Mmm. The pasta is cooked well. It's not too gooey, and the cheese is really nice, really good flavor on it. I think if I were being finicky, I'd want it a little bit creamier. So maybe we could cook it for, you know, like 1 more minute maybe. Like actually already this in the pot is looking a little better. My kids really like this recipe. I really like this recipe, and it's kind of a fun twist on the classic like roux cheese sauce thing. Next up, we are going to try out a recipe from the first page of Google. So let's check it out. For the top 10 mac and cheese recipe today, we are visiting one of my favorite food blogs. It's called Gimme Some Oven, and it's ran by Allie. She makes awesome recipes. It's a very beautiful food blog, wonderful recipes. We're making her best stovetop mac and cheese today. And this is an interesting one because it combines kind of like a traditional roux cheese sauce method with a one pot method. I actually thought it was a like typo when I first read it, but let's see if it works. So we are gonna start with our pan on like a medium-low heat. We're gonna go in with some butter, and then we're gonna add some flour to this right away. This is gonna make a really classic roux. Normally this would be the base for like a cheese sauce, and it's pretty crazy what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna cook the pasta and everything in this. And we'll let this cook, and eventually it'll start to get just like a tiny bit of tan color. And the next thing we're gonna add to this is just water. And this is 3 cups of water. It looks like a lot. Normally it would be way too much for a sauce, but I'm gonna trust Allie that this works. So we'll see. Slow. If you go too fast, it'll get really clumpy and weird. And then once you get about a cup of water in there, and you have like a nice, kind of like a thin gravy, then you can start adding it faster. Then we are adding 4 cups of milk. I know, I thought it was a typo, but we'll see. 1 pound of pasta, some salt, some mustard, all that stuff. I have all that stuff here. I'm using these, I like these shell pastas. When Allie made it, she used cavatappi. You could also use elbow macaroni. I think you can kind of use any pasta. I would not use spaghetti though, that's not gonna work. So let's add these in. You want the whole box of pasta goes in. We're gonna add a big pinch of salt, about a teaspoon of salt to this, and a little pinch of dried mustard goes in. It's very common to add mustard to macaroni and cheeses. I think it just gives it a little bite, a little tanginess to it. You could leave it out. My wife hates mustard, and I put it in and she doesn't even know it's in there, so. So we're gonna stir this and bring it to a simmer. This one takes a little longer than the Alton Brown recipe, but it's still a 1 pot, very low cleanup. Kind of the same cleanup-wise as the blue box stuff. I mean, you're just waiting for a pot to boil, basically. Once this is at a low simmer, just let it cook until the pasta's done. In theory, this works. We'll see. Let's read some reviews. Pat, 5 stars. Pat says, this really is the best mac and cheese I've ever had. I've tried for years and years to make a decent mac and cheese and always failed miserably. This recipe was a game changer. Thank you. We have Anne said, not very good directions, turned into soup, ruined our dinner, will not use this recipe again. That is not a ringing endorsement. I don't know what Anne, well, we'll see how it turns out, but I don't know what Anne did wrong, really. I mean, I bet Anne cooked the pasta separately and then added it in, but you're supposed to cook it all together. If I had to guess, I think that's probably what happened there. The pasta has really started to fill up the pan, or the pot. This is not a pan, this is a pot. And remember, we're gonna add a lot of cheese to this too, so that's gonna help it thicken too. All right, let's do a taste test. Needs another minute, for sure. It's getting there though. This recipe does take longer, but I can tell the sauce is gonna be like the creamiest. So when this is done, we're gonna add 2 kinds of cheese to our pasta. We are going to add a whole lot of cheddar and a little bit of Parmesan. And that's a nice mix, I like that. Now the trick is, do we add the cheese with the heat on or with the heat off? Let's see what Allie says about that. She says, you remove from heat and stir in the cheese until melted, and then you taste and season as needed, and you serve immediately. So I'm gonna turn off my heat, and then I'm gonna start adding my cheese, and I'm gonna kind of do it in batches. This is a lot of cheese. It's like a comical amount of cheese. She actually gives a range. She says you could use 16 to 20 ounces, which is a lot of cheese. And then the parm too. Lordy, lordy, lordy. Okay, more cheese going in. I'm not gonna do the full 20. I'm gonna do like 18. I'm gonna split it. How about that? Chris says to do the 20. All right, we'll do the 20. Chris is running the show anyway, to be honest. Okay, 20 it is. This looks very creamy. I might want to half this recipe for my family. This is more than we could eat. We're gonna try this. It looks super creamy. I like it. Yeah, it's got great flavor. Very cheesy, very creamy. There is like a fair amount of sauce going on, which I'm actually okay with because, you know, that's where all the cheese lives, is in the sauce. If you let it sit for a minute, it'll get thicker too, because that roux will start to thicken, but woo! I like this recipe. Out of the 3 recipes we tried, this was my kids' favorite that we did. And I think that they liked it more than the blue box. But yeah, this is an awesome, awesome recipe. So thanks, Allie, for coming up with it. All right, let's move on to our last recipe. We are making an off-the-grid macaroni and cheese. For our off-the-grid mac and cheese today, we are going to a website called Broma Bakery. It is ran by Sarah. She's not exactly unknown in the food blog world. I mean, she does have like 200,000 Instagram followers, but this recipe is a little bit buried on her site. Normally she features desserts, breakfast, stuff like that. And so a mac and cheese recipe is like kind of, you know, gets a little buried on her site, but it is an awesome recipe. And it has a really fun story that goes along with it. It's called Marry Me Mac and Cheese, so you might kind of have a clue about what's going on there. But I'll let you go and read it if you want to check it out. So this recipe starts, it's a little bit more traditional. So we're gonna start by making like a roux in a pot, and then we're gonna add our cooked pasta to the cheese sauce. So I have kind of a hot pot here. It's not super hot, but it's warm. We're gonna add some butter to it. Sarah recommends to use salted butter. If you don't have salted butter, you can just add an extra pinch of salt to it later if you want. And as that cooks, we're gonna add some just all-purpose flour to it, about 2 tablespoons. And so this is making our classic roux right here. This is, you know, pretty standard stuff. It's what you would see in a cheese sauce. Now, once this gets going, we're gonna add some milk to it. So I have some milk. Sarah recommends whole milk. I also like whole milk when I'm making my cheese sauces. Some mustard, and she had some Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire? Nobody knows. So I'm gonna add a few dashes of that too, because she says to add about 2 teaspoons. So we will do that. So we're gonna whisk this until the butter is melted and the flour turns into like a really smooth paste. Roux sounds fancy, but this is not a fancy, I mean, it's easy. Start slow when you're adding liquid to a roux, so a little bit. If you add it too fast, it'll get kind of gritty and weird. Once you get a little bit whisked in, then you can start adding it faster. So once your milk is whisked in, we're gonna add our W sauce, however you say it, all right? 2 teaspoons, I'm gonna kind of eyeball it. It's about right. And then some mustard as well. All these recipes have mustard. Okay, oh, and salt. Yeah, definitely need salt. So Sarah says a teaspoon, I think. Half a teaspoon. Okay, glad I checked. All right, half a teaspoon. That's like 2 pinches. Let's see, while that cooks, let's read some reviews. All right, some comments on Broma Bakery. Let's see. Angela says, I have made this recipe at least 5 times. Unlike other mac and cheese recipes where the sauce is a little gritty, this one is silky smooth and so good. This recipe is a winner. Ooh, I like the word silky. There were actually 0 negative comments on this recipe. Everybody seems to love it. The one question is Janet says, just checking on the size of box. Is it a 16-ounce box? Some brands do have 12 ounces, because Sarah just wrote a box of pasta. And she responded and clarified, she does mean a full pound of pasta goes in for this recipe. So if you get a spoon, you can kind of go like that in the sauce, and if it leaves a streak, you're in business. Ooh, that tastes good. Actually, I like the Worcestershire addition there. All right, we are adding a lot of cheese to this, okay? So we're adding, first, some sharp cheddar to this. We got some parm as well. Ooh, doggy. Stir this all together. So that's gonna start melting. It's already looking pretty darn good. And then Sarah has a little trick for the last cheese here. She uses American cheese. This is just good old sliced American cheese. I have a special place in my heart for American cheese. I really love it. I think it gets a bad rap, but melted on a burger, there is nothing better. Kind of break it apart, add this. Make sure the slices are separated so it melts nicely. Ooh, this is looking. Ooh, I like the this might be silky. That reviewer might be correct. I'm starting to think this might be a pretty good queso recipe too. Don't tell anybody, but I think you could add some salsas to this and kind of be in business. We're gonna add our pasta, ta-da! Already cooked it. You could add shells. Sarah uses orchetti, which is like an Italian kind of ear pasta. That actually looks pretty similar to these. Okay, we're gonna add in all our beautiful pasta. Ooh, it already looks really good. And then Sarah says to continue cooking this for a few minutes because the pasta will soak up some extra sauce. Plate me, spoon me. Spoon me. Let's try this. Silky is correct. This is a very smooth cheese sauce. Now, you know, the one downside of American is if you let this sit for too long, it might get a little, like, re-hardened, I guess is the word. So you wanna eat this right out of the pot right away, but it is very creamy. A+. I like this version. Very classic cheese sauce, and who knows, maybe you'll get married out of it. I don't know, Sarah did apparently. It doesn't matter what kind of recipe you use. We made 3 different kinds today. All of them a little bit different skill levels involved. If you're a beginner cook, I would go with the Alton Brown recipe. If you're looking for something a little more upscale, both of the last 2 recipes we made were really nice and delicious. Just remember, none of these take more time than the blue box mac and cheese. You still have to boil the pasta, you gotta make the sauce, you gotta stir it all together. It's about the same amount of time. So try something new and see if it turns out delicious for you. Be careful on portion. So all of these make a ton, and you could probably cut the recipes in half for a family of 4 because they just make a lot of macaroni and cheese, and it's not quite as good on day 2. Finally, think about adding a crunchy topping to these. So I like to add just some toasted breadcrumbs. These are really nice. Sprinkle them on top, and it gives the mac and cheese a really nice texture. Thank you guys for watching the Dinnernet today. And if you have any ideas for a future episode, be sure to leave a comment, like this video, and subscribe, and ring the little bell so you get future episodes. See you soon.
That was a battery draining recipe.
Mac.
Actually